What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with the Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very important levels to be watching for and what the setups right now are suggesting, what you should be watching for in this intraday update. But before I break anything down, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks plus 6 months of level 2 data. And putting in $25,000 or more guarantees you 70 free stocks plus 12 months of level 2 data. All of this could be very helpful for trading, so check it out as the offer ends in just 12 days. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market so far. So, looking at SPY specifically, we have some very, very interesting looking setups. Right now, SPY is developing a head and shoulders like pattern, at least on the hourly time frame, you could see it. However, there's no confirmation that this thing is going to actually get a bigger break to the downside. So there's always the possibility that this is a trap. In order for us to turn bearish, we have to say or see the same thing that I've been saying. Basically, when you look at the charts, this orange trend line right here, right, previous resistance becoming support has held SPY up over and over and over again. And every single time we touch it, we just see this thing bounce. So what this tells me is this: we're going to be watching to see, does SPY end up sinking to this support right here? It's going to be at 455 going into tomorrow, maybe even during the after hours. And then do we get another bounce back up like this before we just continue this trend? Could this just be a trap? This head and shoulders, it does just leads to nothing, or or are we going to just touch the trend line? Maybe some economic data comes out for Thursday/Friday, and then we end up breaking down, and this head and shoulders leads to a sell-off, and we see this support break at 455. Our next critical support is actually not just going to be 455, but also that like 454 zone, which is where our 4-hour like 50 EMA happens to be. And do we end up breaking all of it and just start selling off towards 452 like this for a bigger drop? This will depend on our first level of support. This orange trend line right here, do we hold the trend line? Do we break below it or do we hold it? Let me actually make this, let me make this back to orange. Let me actually make this a little thicker so you can see it better. Look at the orange trend line. Do we break below this and start selling off, or do we end up bouncing off it again? And maybe the sell off comes later. This is what's going to be needed for confirmation of whether or not this head and shoulders will play out or lead to some kind of selling. And watch it very, very carefully as time goes on. I also want to add that as far as SPY goes, I'm going to switch off to just one chart so it's easy to follow. On the 4-hour time frame, okay, you're going to be watching this critical support right here as well, very close to 455. We have support at 454.7. I know SPY is currently at 456, but I'm just calling out 454.7 because that's where our 50 EMA happens to be. Watch that carefully. If we lose that, we're going to turn more bearish. As of right now, we haven't lost it. So there's nothing that confirms that SPY is going to break down just yet. There's no confirmation of a big sell-off yet. For now, watch and see if support holds. We are looking a little weak right now, but just to be safe, we will see if this support holds or not. So watch that very carefully on SPY. What about for Tesla? How is Tesla looking in my opinion? Well, I think that SPY and the QQQ will affect Tesla. Tesla's looking a little bit weaker than before, but it's not like that bad. It's not like that weak relative to the market. So I want to call out that we have a double top like formation. We got rejected at a very similar level at this 246.6 zone, very close to our 247 resistance. And Tesla has formed a double top like formation. And we're going to be approaching this gap down here. We have a gap that's unfilled around 240. So I could see Tesla dropping a little bit more, but we're going to be watching to see if Tesla not only fills this gap or if it just continues to sell off from there. Because if we lose 240, there's going to be a risk of it coming back down to test the trend line at 235. We also have this imbalance down here at like 238. So watch 240 as a target. Watch support right there on Tesla. If we lose that, there's 238 and then 235. Those are three levels to be watching for. Right now, Tesla has been we formed a double top. It's been holding up decently for the most part, but it's starting to sink a little bit. And we have this gap to fill, so I anticipate a little bit of downside. Let's see if 240 holds on it. But as of right now, it looks like it's going to test that. And it could drop below that, so watch the other levels just to be safe. What about the QQQ? The QQQ, in my opinion, not looking that strong, not extremely weak either. So we have this like zone right over here of support, which is where it's kind of like testing. In my opinion, The overall setup has been slowly declining little by little. One could also argue that we have like a head and shoulders like structure. We have like this left shoulder, the head and the right shoulder forming. But we haven't lost critical support yet on the QQQ, because what you'll notice is that what tends to happen is we tend to hit like 385. We've sometimes seen it bounce around there, and sometimes it goes a little bit lower towards like 384, if not 383. So this 383 to 384 zone. Then we see this thing rebound, try to push back up towards 388 and just continue lower. That's what we tend to see. So in my opinion, there's no confirmation of this thing truly getting a big breakdown. Not yet. Could it sink more? Yes, but I'm talking about, are we going to drop all the way down to fill the gap at 378? It could happen, but we need to see support break, and we haven't broken the key support yet. Because if I bring up the chart, let me show you something interesting on the QQQ. On the QQQ, it's been trying to base right here. If I look at, I think it's the daily chart, which is one of the best charts to look at for this. Check this out, guys. If you look at the daily time frame on the triple Q like this, notice how we can draw like a trend line here, for example. That's very close to where our 20 EMA happens to be, the 383.5 area. And this green, not trend line, did I say trend line? The EMA, the green EMA right over here. See this green line? This is holding the triple Q up. If we lose this, it's going to come down to fill the gap. We haven't lost support yet. It's still barely holding up. I know it's looking weak right now. I know it's losing strength, but we need to see support break to get confirmation of a bigger move to the downside. So far, if you just look at this carefully, we had a down day, we had an up day, we had a down day, we bounced, had an up day, we came up higher, then we came down. See how it's just going back and forth and back and forth? To see this thing break down, we need to lose this support. It's looking weak on the daily time frame. It looks like it's going to break down, but just to be safe, watch and see if this breaks, because it's very tricky, excuse me. Lots of manipulation. On Aapl, this thing attempted to break out higher, but now it's starting to fail. I was talking about this potentially getting a rejection in my video from yesterday, but today I was saying that it might actually try to hold up a little better. It didn't really reject that hard. It's still holding up for the most part, but we're going to be watching very carefully how well does Aapl end up holding this support right over here. We have this one, I think it's very close to 193. If we lose this historical support, it's going to come down to 192.5. Watch that very carefully. If we lose this, there's 192. And if we lose 192, then it's going to turn more bearish. We have this imbalance down here towards like 190. So it's going to come down a lot faster if we lose 192. For now, Apple's kind of just like range trading between 192 and 193. Might continue to do so, but it's not looking the strongest. So I just wanted to note that. We'll see what it does. It's kind of stuck right now. Nvidia is looking kind of weak. So on Nvidia, I was saying that watch this resistance around this 472 area. Could we pop a bit then reject, or could we try to break out? To be bullish, you want to see this thing break 475. To turn bearish, you want to see it lose 468. And notice what happened was we tried to break higher during the pre-market, and it failed. It failed to get that break above 475, and we got a rejection. I warned you, if we lost 468, expect this thing to sell off, and we're going to be watching these levels like way down here. So what happened? Nvidia just lost support after support after support. We're testing 457 again, and we could see even more downside very soon. If we continue to sell off and we lose 455, it's going to come all the way down to this imbalance at 452. And we have 450 being retested, and even lower levels than that. So there could be some more downside coming on Nvidia. It's not looking the strongest, but make sure you watch your support levels and you just be very patient in this market. All right, guys. So with that being said, the biggest thing I'm watching right now is SPY right now. I think SPY is in a very critical state. We will see if this head and shoulders like structure pans out. Do we see it lead to a bigger sell-off, like this scenario right here? Let me just change the colors of these just to make this like more clear. Will the red one play out where we kind of like retest the orange trend line, then lose support and start breaking down? Or are we going to bounce off of it, just hold it for some time like we've been doing for the last like couple of weeks? We'll just have to wait and see. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening. I hope this video was helpful. We will see if this head and shoulders like pattern does play out or not. I'm not saying that it's going to play out for sure. I'm saying it's forming. There's a good possibility it will play out, but we have to watch for confirmation just to be safe. Okay? Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that was clear. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you again, and peace out.